The first thing I heard was my own voice, calling for help from somewhere deep in the woods. I froze on the trail. Because I hadn't said a word. The radio on my shoulder crackled again, but it wasn't dispatch. It was me, whispering my own name like I was lost, scared, and getting farther away. I've been a park ranger in the Blue Ridge for 6 years. Long enough to know the sounds of the forest. Long enough to know when something doesn't belong. That night, nothing felt right. It was just past 9 p.m. when I got the report. A solo hiker, male, mid-30s, never checked out at the ranger station. His car was still parked at the lower trailhead. No phone signal in that area. Happens more than you'd think. I grabbed a flashlight, my radio, and headed up the trail. The woods were quiet. Too quiet. No insects. No wind. Just the sound of my boots pressing into the dirt, slow, steady. About half a mile in, I noticed the footprints. Fresh. They were heading off the trail into thicker woods. That wasn't unusual for someone who got lost, but these prints were uneven. Deep in some places. Light in others. Like the guy had been running, then stopping, then dragging his feet. I followed. Branches snapped under my boots. Leaves brushed against my jacket. The deeper I went, the darker it got. My flashlight started to feel weak, like it was being swallowed by the trees. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Not mine. Behind me. I stopped. The sound stopped. I turned around fast, shining my light into the darkness. Nothing. Just trees, and shadows that looked like they were shifting when I wasn't looking directly at them. I told myself it was nothing. Just nerves. Then my radio crackled. Help me. It was faint. Distorted. But it was my voice. I grabbed the radio. Dispatch, this is Ranger Cole. Do you copy? Static. Then again, closer this time. Cole, help me. My chest tightened. I hadn't transmitted anything. The radio light hadn't even blinked. I started walking faster. I didn't like where this was going. The footprints ahead of me became clearer in the soft dirt. And then, I noticed something that made me stop cold. There were 2 sets now. One set going forward. One set, following them. The second set was heavier. Deeper. Longer stride. Whoever it was, they had been chasing him. And suddenly I didn't feel like I was alone out there anymore. I kept moving, faster now. My breathing got louder. Too loud. I tried to slow it down, but I couldn't. That's when I heard it again. Footsteps. Behind me. This time, they didn't stop when I stopped. They kept going, one more step, then another. I spun around, flashlight shaking in my hand. Nothing. But I could feel it. Someone was there. Close. Watching me. My radio burst to life again. But this time, it wasn't my voice. It was a man's voice. Panicked. Gasping. He's still here, he's still. The signal cut off with a sharp crack. I followed the sound, pushing through thick brush until I stumbled into a small clearing. And that's where I found him. The missing hiker. Or what was left of him. He was lying on his back, eyes wide open. His mouth frozen mid-scream. His chest, crushed inward like something heavy had been pressing down on him. There were bruises around his throat. Finger marks. Human. But too big. I stepped closer, heart pounding so hard it hurt. That's when I noticed the ground around him. Footprints. Lots of them. Circling him. But they didn't come from different directions. They all came from the same place. Right behind me. I felt my stomach drop. Slowly. I turned around. And for the first time that night, I saw him. He was standing between the trees. Tall. Too tall. His body was thin, but his arms, they hung too long, almost reaching his knees. His face was in shadow. But I could hear him breathing. Slow. Heavy. Like he had been running for a long time, and finally caught up. I raised my flashlight. The beam hit his face. And my blood ran cold. It was me. Same uniform. Same face. But wrong. His eyes were wide, unblinking, like he hadn't blinked in days. His mouth stretched into a smile that didn't belong on a human face. Then, he lifted his radio. My radio. And in my voice, perfectly calm, he said, "Dispatch. I found him." Before I could react, he rushed me. Fast. Too fast. I barely had time to step back before he slammed into me, knocking the air out of my lungs. His hands wrapped around my throat. Strong. Unnatural. I fought back, clawing at his arms, trying to push him off, but it was like fighting a machine. No hesitation. No emotion. Just pressure. More and more. My vision started to blur. The last thing I saw was my own face hovering above me. Still smiling. Still breathing slowly. Like this was routine. Like I was just another report to file. They found my body 2 days later. Official report says it was a wildlife attack. But that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is what dispatch recorded that night. Because at the exact time they say I died, my voice checked in over the radio. Calm. Clear. And still on patrol. The radio didn't go dead. It started breathing. At first I thought it was just static. Then it inhaled again, slow, wet, human, and I realized someone was listening on the other end, and they weren't trying to talk. I've worked as a park ranger in the Blue Ridge Mountains for almost 9 years. I've handled lost hikers, black bears, even the occasional armed trespasser. But nothing felt like that night. It was late October. Cold enough that the air burned your throat if you breathed too deep. I was on solo night patrol, covering a remote stretch of forest where the trails thin out and the radio signal gets spotty. No tourists. No cabins. Just miles of trees and silence. At around 11:40 p.m., dispatch called me. Unit 12, we've got an open 911 call pinging near your sector. I asked if anyone spoke. They said no. Just an open line. Breathing. That alone wasn't unusual. People panic. Drop their phones. But the location, it didn't sit right. It was deep in a restricted area. No marked trails. No reason for anyone to be out there at night. Still, it was my job. I drove as far as I could, then continued on foot. Flashlight in one hand. Radio clipped to my shoulder. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. No insects. No wind. Just the crunch of leaves under my boots. After about 15 minutes, my radio crackled again. Units, are you close? But something was off. The voice sounded like dispatch, but thinner. Strained. Like someone trying to copy her voice and not quite getting it right. I stopped walking. Dispatch, repeat that. Silence. Then breathing. Not from the forest. From the radio. I pulled it off my shoulder slowly, holding it in front of me like it might bite. It inhaled again, longer this time. I felt something twist in my gut. Dispatch, confirm that was you, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. No response. I should have turned back. That's what protocol says. But there was still that open 911 call. Someone could have been hurt. So I kept going. Another 10 minutes and I started noticing small things. Broken branches at knee height. Not snapped clean, twisted. Like someone had grabbed them and bent them slowly until they gave. Then I found footprints. Barefoot. That didn't make sense. The ground was freezing. The prints were fresh, deep, like whoever made them wasn't walking normally. The toes dug in too much. The stride uneven. I crouched down, shining my light over them. That's when I heard it. A step. Behind me. I turned fast, swinging the flashlight. Nothing. Just trees. But I knew that sound. I've spent years out there. I know the difference between animals and people. That was a person, trying to step quietly and failing. Hello. I called out. No answer. I kept scanning the trees. My heart was starting to pound now. Hard enough I could feel it in my throat. Then the radio whispered. Not breathed. Not static. Whispered. Closer. I froze. That wasn't dispatch. That wasn't interference. That was a voice. Low. Dry. Right against the microphone. I yanked the radio off and shut it off completely. The silence that followed felt wrong. Heavy. Like something was missing. And then I heard the breathing again. Not from the radio. From somewhere in the trees. I backed up slowly, turning in a slow circle, trying to find the source. The beam of my flashlight shook despite my grip. Look, if someone's out here, you need to show yourself, I said. Nothing. Just breathing. Slow. Controlled. Watching. Then a crunch. Closer this time. I snapped the light toward it, and caught movement. A figure. Just for a second. Too thin. Too still. Standing between two trees, half hidden in shadow. I pointed the light directly at it, but it was gone. No footsteps. No running. Just gone. That's when the smell hit me. Rotten. Sour. Like something left in the heat too long. I gagged, covering my nose, and that's when I saw it. Another set of footprints. Right next to mine. Barefoot. Facing me. They hadn't been there before. Which meant it had walked up behind me, while I was standing still, and I never heard it. My chest tightened. My vision tunneled. I didn't care about protocol anymore. I turned and started back the way I came. Fast. Branches scraped my arms. My boots slipped on loose dirt. I didn't stop. But the footsteps followed. Not running. Walking. Keeping pace. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Always a few steps behind. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Every instinct told me if I looked, it would be closer than it should be. Then the radio turned on. By itself. Clipped to my shoulder. Dead just seconds ago. It crackled to life and I heard my own voice. Hello. I stopped. The radio played it again. Hello. Exactly how I had said it earlier. Same tone. Same fear. Then again. Hello. Over and over. Louder each time. Faster. I ripped the radio off and threw it into the trees. The footsteps stopped. Silence. For a moment. I thought it was over. Then, right behind my ear. Something whispered. Hello. I spun around, swinging my flashlight wildly. And there it was. Close. Too close. A man. I think. Bare skin, filthy, stretched tight over bone. Eyes wide open, not blinking. Mouth slightly parted like he was about to speak again. But what got me was his posture. He wasn't standing normally. He was leaning forward, just slightly, like he had been following right behind me the whole time, matching my steps, copying me. Watching. Waiting. I don't remember deciding to run. My body just did. I sprinted all the way back to the truck. Didn't stop. Didn't look back. I locked myself inside, started the engine and drove until the forest was gone. When I finally reported it, they sent a team out at first light. They found the radio. They found my footprints. They found the other ones too. But they didn't find him. What they did find was worse. About 50 yards from where I last saw him, they found a small clearing. In the dirt were dozens of footprints. All barefoot. All circling a single spot. And in the center, another set of prints. Mine. Perfectly matched. Step for step. Like something had been practicing how to walk like me before it ever let me leave. The first time I heard my own voice calling for help, I was standing completely still. And I wasn't the one talking. I work as a park ranger in a remote section of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The kind of place where cell service dies 10 minutes past the last paved road, and even experienced hikers don't stay after sunset. That night I was on a routine patrol, just checking a trail that had been closed for a few weeks after reports of unusual activity. Missing supplies from campsites. Food gone. Packs torn open. No animals caught on trail cams. At first it sounded like the usual, black bears, maybe someone sneaking around. But something felt off. Too quiet. No birds. No insects. Just wind, and trees creaking like old wood under pressure. I started hiking in just before dusk. The trail was narrow, covered in damp leaves. Every step made a soft crunch, the kind that echoes more than it should when everything else is silent. About 20 minutes in, I noticed footprints. Boot prints. Fresh. Heading deeper into the closed area. That wasn't normal. No one was supposed to be out there. I radioed it in, no response. Static. Just my luck. I followed the tracks. They were uneven. Like whoever made them was moving fast. Running, maybe. Then suddenly they stopped. No turn. No backtrack. Just gone. I stood there for a while, scanning the trees. My hand resting on my sidearm. Something felt wrong. Not dangerous yet, just wrong. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Behind me. Slow. Careful. Matching my rhythm. I turned around fast. Nothing. Just trees and shadows stretching longer as the light faded. I told myself it was echo. Sound bouncing weirdly through the hills. I kept walking. The footsteps followed. Stop when I stop. Move when I move. Closer each time. I called out, "Park Ranger. If someone's out here, identify yourself." Silence. Then a voice. My voice. "Park Ranger, help me." It came from deeper in the woods. Not behind me anymore. Ahead. Cold went through me instantly. Same tone. Same pitch. Exactly how I sound over the radio. I didn't answer. I shouldn't have kept going, but I did. I moved off the trail. Slow steps. Watching every direction. The trees got thicker. Branches scraping my arms. The air felt heavier, like it didn't want me there. Then I saw something. A backpack. Torn open. Contents scattered. Clothes, a flashlight. Food ripped apart like someone had searched it in a panic. And next to it, a boot. Still with a foot inside. Not cleanly removed. Not an animal attack either. It looked deliberate. Like someone had cut it free. My stomach tightened. Then the voice again. Closer now. Help me. I'm over here. My voice. But wrong. Too flat. No panic. Just repeating the words. I backed up slowly. My hand shaking slightly on the grip of my gun. Then something moved between the trees. Fast. Too fast to see clearly. I raised the flashlight and swept it across the woods. Nothing. Then breathing. Right next to me. Heavy. Wet. Controlled. I spun around. Nothing. But the breathing didn't stop. It was right behind my ear. I ran. I didn't think. I just ran. Branches hitting my face. Leaves slipping under my boots. My heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. But I still heard it. Footsteps. Right behind me. Not matching me anymore. Gaining. Then, my voice again. Screaming this time. Don't stop, it's right behind you. I tripped. Hard. Hit the ground. Rolled. My flashlight flew out of my hand and went dark. For a second, everything was black. Silent. Then I felt it. A hand. Grabbing my ankle. Tight. Human. I kicked hard, scrambling, reaching for my weapon. I turned and fired blindly into the darkness. The grip loosened. I crawled back, grabbing my flashlight, flicking it on. And what I saw, I still don't fully understand. There was a man. Wearing a ranger uniform. My uniform. Same patches. Same badge. Same face. Mine. But wrong. His eyes were wide. Bloodshot. His mouth moving, but no sound coming out. Then, slowly, sound returned. Help me. My voice. He was bleeding. Badly. Deep cuts across his arms. Like he'd been dragged through something sharp again and again. I froze. He reached out to me. And behind him, I saw movement. Another shape in the trees. Watching. Still. Low to the ground. I didn't wait. I got up and ran. I didn't look back. Didn't stop. Not until I hit the trail and kept going until I saw my truck. I locked myself inside. Engine running. Lights on. I waited. Nothing followed me out. Backup arrived hours later. I told them everything. We went back at first light. There was no backpack. No boot. No blood. No tracks. Nothing. Like the forest had reset itself overnight. But here's the part that keeps me awake. When I got back to the station, my radio was sitting on the desk. Still on. Still recording. And the last transmission was my voice. Clear as day. Crying. Begging. Please. Don't leave me out here. The radio started whispering my name before I even touched it. Not crackling. Not static. A low, clear voice, saying it slowly like it was right behind me. And the worst part? I was miles away from anyone who could have known I was there. I've worked as a park ranger in the Blue Ridge Mountains for almost 8 years. You get used to strange sounds out here. Branches snapping, animals moving through brush, wind doing things that don't make sense. But there's a line between strange and wrong. That night crossed it. It was late October. Cold enough that your breath hangs in front of you. I was doing a solo patrol along an old maintenance trail, one that had been closed off for years after a landslide. No hikers allowed. No campers. Just trees, steep drop-offs, and silence. I remember thinking how quiet it was. Too quiet. No insects. No owls. Nothing. Just my boots pressing into damp leaves, one step at a time. Crunch. Crunch. That's when my radio clicked. I stopped walking. Looked down at it clipped to my vest. I hadn't touched it. There was no incoming call signal. No beep. Just a soft burst of static. Then, Daniel. I froze. My name. Barely above a whisper. I grabbed the radio and brought it close. Dispatch, say again. Nothing. Just silence. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, heart picking up, waiting for something, anything. But the forest stayed dead quiet. I told myself it was interference. Maybe someone from another frequency bleeding into mine. It happens sometimes out here. Still, it didn't sit right. I kept walking. Crunch. Crunch. After a minute, I started hearing something else. Footsteps. Not mine. Behind me. Soft. Slow. Matching my pace. I stopped again. The sound stopped too. I turned around, scanning the trail behind me with my flashlight. The beam cut through the trees. Pale trunks, scattered rocks, nothing moving. No one there. I listened harder this time. Held my breath. Nothing. I almost laughed it off. Told myself it was echo. Sound bouncing weird in the trees. So I turned back around and started walking again. 3 steps in. Crunch. 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 There it was again. A second set. Right behind me. Closer now. I spun around fast, raising the light higher. Hello. My voice sounded too loud in that silence. No answer. But something had changed. The ground behind me. It wasn't untouched anymore. There were fresh impressions in the leaves. Footprints. Not boots. Bare feet. I stared at them. They were wrong. Too long. Toes stretched out like they'd been gripping the dirt. And they were deep, like whoever made them was heavier than me. I stepped back slowly, my pulse hammering in my ears. That's when the radio clicked again. I didn't even want to look at it. But I did. Another burst of static. Then my voice came through. Not someone else's. Mine. Hello. It was a perfect copy. Same tone. Same panic. I felt my stomach drop. Because I hadn't said that into the radio. Not like that. Not recorded. I backed up another step and my heel hit something. A rock. I stumbled, caught myself, and swung the light down the trail ahead. And that's when I saw it. At first I thought it was just a shadow. But then it moved. A figure. Crouched low in the middle of the trail, maybe 30 feet ahead. Too dark to make out clearly, but I could see its outline. Long limbs. Head tilted at an angle that didn't look natural. It wasn't running. It wasn't hiding. It was just there. Watching me. Neither of us moved for a few seconds. Then my radio whispered again. Right next to my ear this time. Run. I didn't think. I turned and bolted back the way I came. Branches hit my arms. Leaves slipped under my boots. I didn't care. I just ran. But the footsteps came back. Louder now. Faster. Right behind me. Not matching my pace anymore. Gaining. I could hear breathing too. Wet. Heavy. Close. Too close. I risked a glance over my shoulder. And I wish I hadn't. It was closer than I thought. Much closer. Maybe 10 feet behind me now. Its skin looked pale in the flashlight beam, stretched tight over something that didn't fit right underneath. Its mouth hung open too wide like it couldn't close properly. And its feet. Those same long, bare feet slamming into the dirt, leaving deep marks with every step. I pushed harder, lungs burning. The trail opened up ahead, my truck was just beyond the bend. I could make it. I had to. The thing behind me let out a sound. Not a scream. Not an animal noise. It sounded like me. Trying to speak. Daniel. I reached the truck, yanked the door open and threw myself inside. Slammed it shut and locked it instantly. A second later. Thud. Something hit the side of the vehicle. Hard. The whole truck shook. I scrambled for the keys, hands shaking so bad I dropped them once before getting the engine started. Another thud. This time against the back. I didn't look. I couldn't. I just threw it into gear and hit the gas. The tires spun for a second, then caught, and I sped down the dirt road, branches scraping against the sides. I didn't stop driving until I hit the main highway. Didn't check the mirrors. Didn't slow down. Just drove. When I finally got back to the station, I sat there in the parking lot for a long time, engine off, hands still shaking. I told myself it was over. That I got away. But then the radio, sitting quietly on the passenger seat, clicked one last time. Soft. Almost gentle. And my own voice whispered through it again. You didn't. I knew something was wrong the moment the radio went silent. Not crackling. Not weak signal. Just dead. Like someone had switched it off from the inside. And then I heard footsteps behind me, even though I was supposed to be alone for miles. I've been a park ranger in the Blue Ridge Mountains for almost 7 years. You get used to isolation. The quiet. The long shifts where nothing happens except wind moving through trees and the occasional animal crossing your path. That night started normal. Cold. Fog rolling low through the trees. My shift was a patrol along one of the less used trails, closed off to the public after a landslide a few years back. No tourists. No campers. Just dense forest and uneven ground. Around midnight, I got a call over the radio. Unit 3, check the North Trail marker 17, possible disturbance. The voice was calm. Familiar. Sounded like dispatch. I acknowledged and headed that way. The hike took about 25 minutes. No light except my flashlight and the faint moon behind clouds. The deeper I went, the quieter it got. No insects. No wind. Just my boots against dirt. That's when I noticed something odd. There were footprints on the trail. Barefoot. Fresh. They were clear in the soft soil, long strides, deeper impressions like whoever made them was running. But they didn't come from the trailhead. They came from deeper in the forest, and moved toward marker 17. I followed them. Probably someone lost. Maybe injured. That's what I told myself. When I reached marker 17, I didn't find a person. I found my patrol truck. Parked off the trail. Engine cold. Driver door slightly open. I froze. I had left that truck over a mile back at the ranger station. I was sure of it. I even checked my keys. Still in my pocket. For a moment, I thought maybe I was disoriented. Maybe I took a wrong turn. But that didn't make sense. I knew these trails like the back of my hand. Slowly. I stepped closer. The truck looked normal. No damage. No broken glass. But inside, the radio was on. And it was whispering. Not static. Not a voice I recognized. Just low. Uneven breathing. I reached in and turned it off immediately. That's when my own radio on my belt crackled. Unit 3, report your status. It was dispatch again. I answered, trying to stay calm. I'm at marker 17. Found something strange. My vehicle is here, but... Silence. Then a pause. And the same voice came back, but slower this time. You're not at marker 17. I felt a chill run through me. I am. I'm looking right at the sign. No, the voice said. Marker 17 is still a mile north of your position. I turned my flashlight toward the wooden post. The number wasn't 17. It was scratched out. Something had carved deep lines into it, like claws or a knife, over and over until the number was unrecognizable. My stomach dropped. Then I heard it again. Footsteps. Behind me. Slow. Heavy. Matching my pace from earlier, like something had been following me the entire time. I spun around, shining my light into the trees. Nothing. Just trunks. Darkness. Fog. But the sound didn't stop. Step. 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 Circling me. I backed up toward the truck, my breathing getting louder. Faster. Who's there? I shouted. No answer. The footsteps stopped. Then, I heard breathing. Not mine. Close. Right next to my ear. I turned fast, too fast, and slipped on the dirt, falling hard against the side of the truck. My flashlight dropped, rolling a few feet away, beam spinning across the ground. And for a split second, it lit something up. A figure. Crouched low between the trees. Too still. Watching me. Human. But wrong. Its head was tilted at an angle no neck should hold for long. Its skin looked pale, almost gray in the light. And its eyes. They reflected the beam, but didn't blink. I scrambled to grab my flashlight again, pointing it back. Gone. No sound. No movement. Just empty forest. I didn't wait. I jumped into the truck, slammed the door, and started the engine. The keys shouldn't have worked. But they did. I didn't question it. I just drove. Fast. Branches scraped against the sides. The trail barely visible. I didn't care. I just needed to get out. As I sped down the path, my headlights caught something ahead. Another ranger. Standing in the middle of the trail. Relief hit me instantly. I slammed the brakes. He didn't move. Didn't react. Just stood there, facing me. I opened the door, stepping out. Hey. I need. Then I stopped. It was me. Same uniform. Same face. Same gear. standing perfectly still in the headlights. Smiling. But the smile was too wide. Too stretched. I felt my body lock up. Then it spoke. In my voice. You left the truck running. I turned slowly back toward my vehicle. The driver door was open again. And inside, something was sitting in the seat. Watching us. I didn't look back at the thing in the road. I ran. Straight into the trees. Branches tearing at my arms, my face. I didn't stop. Didn't think. Just ran. The footsteps followed again. Closer this time. Faster. Not trying to hide anymore. Chasing me. I could hear it breathing behind me, gaining. I tripped over a root and hit the ground hard. Pain shot through my leg. I tried to get up. And something grabbed my ankle. Tight. Cold. I kicked, screamed, clawed at the dirt, pulling myself forward with everything I had. It didn't let go. It dragged me back, slowly inch by inch. I twisted around. But there was nothing there. No hands. No body. Just my leg being pulled. Deeper into the darkness between the trees. I screamed until my throat burned. And then it stopped. The grip vanished. Silence returned. They found me the next morning. Half conscious. Covered in dirt and cuts. A mile away from any marked trail. No sign of my truck. No footprints except mine. They said I must have gotten lost. Hallucinated. Maybe hit my head. But I know what I saw. Because when they brought me back to the station, my radio was sitting on the desk. Still on. And from its speaker, I could hear it. My own voice. Whispering. Unit 3, report your status. I heard the footsteps before I saw anything. Slow, heavy, matching mine perfectly even when I stopped. That's when I realized something was walking behind me, step for step in the dark, and it didn't want me to turn around. I've worked as a park ranger in the Blue Ridge Mountains for 6 years. You get used to isolation. Long nights. Strange noises. Most of it has an explanation. Animals, wind, hikers who stayed out too late. But that night, nothing made sense. I was on a routine patrol near an old, closed trail. It had been shut down after a landslide years ago. No tourists went there anymore. Just trees, thick, quiet, and the kind of darkness that feels heavier than it should. It was close to midnight when I first heard it. A single step behind me. I stopped walking. Silence. I turned, scanning the trail with my flashlight. Nothing. Just trees, branches. Shadows stretching too far. I told myself it was an animal. Maybe a deer. So I kept walking. And then it happened again. Step. Right behind me. I stopped instantly this time, heart beating faster. Nothing. No movement. No sound. Not even insects. That's when the feeling started. Like someone was watching me. Not from far away, but close, just outside the beam of my light. I tried something. I started walking again, slower, focusing on my own footsteps. Step, step. And then, step. Right after mine. Perfect timing. Like it was copying me. I spun around quickly, shining the light wide this time. Still nothing. But I noticed something strange. The ground behind me, soft dirt from recent rain, had footprints. Mine. And another set. Same size. Same shape. But they weren't there before. They couldn't have been. I had just walked that stretch. I felt a cold pressure in my chest. Someone was there. Close. Quiet. Watching. I grabbed my radio, trying to stay calm. Called it in. No response. Just static. The forest felt wrong now. Too still. I decided to head back. Fast. I turned around and started walking quicker. My boots hitting the ground harder now. Step, step, step. and then… step, step, step. Right behind me again. Closer this time. I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. I just walked faster. The footsteps matched me, perfectly. No matter how fast I went, they stayed right behind me. Not gaining. Not falling back. Just there. Then I heard breathing. Low, steady, controlled. Not like someone running. Like someone enjoying this. I broke into a jog. The breathing got louder. So did the footsteps. Still matching me. Still right there. I could feel it now. The presence. Right behind my back. Close enough that if I slowed down even a little, it would touch me. My legs were burning, but I kept going. The trail twisted through thick trees, branches scraping my arms as I pushed forward. And then I tripped. Hard. I hit the ground, the air knocked out of me. For a second, everything went silent. No footsteps. No breathing. Nothing. I lay there, frozen, afraid to move. Slowly, I rolled onto my back. And that's when I saw it. Not a face. Not clearly. Just a shape. Standing between the trees. Still. Watching. My flashlight flickered over it, but every time I tried to focus, it felt like my eyes refused. Like my brain didn't want to understand what I was seeing. But I could see one thing clearly. Its feet. They were bare. Covered in mud. And they were facing the wrong direction. Toes pointed backward, like it had been walking away from me, while somehow moving toward me. I scrambled back, panic taking over, and forced myself up. The shape didn't move. Didn't chase. Just stood there. Watching. I ran. Didn't stop until I reached the ranger station. When I got inside, I locked every door. Every window. I stayed up the rest of the night. Listening. Waiting. Nothing came. No footsteps. No breathing. Just silence. At sunrise, I went back with 2 other rangers. We checked the trail. Found the spot where I fell. And the footprints. Mine clear as day. And the other ones. Same size. Same depth. Following me perfectly. Step for step. Until the exact place where I hit the ground. And then, they stopped. Right behind where my body had been lying. Not a single print beyond that. Like whatever was following me had been standing over me. Close enough to touch. Close enough to decide whether I was worth keeping. I transferred out of that area a week later. But sometimes when I walk alone, I still hear it. Step. Step. Matching me. Waiting for me to stop. I knew something was wrong the moment the radio went quiet. Not static, not dead, just silent. Like someone had pressed a mute button on the entire mountain. And then I heard footsteps, matching mine, but I was completely alone. I've worked as a park ranger in the Blue Ridge for almost 8 years. You get used to the isolation. The long stretches without seeing anyone. The sounds of animals moving through brush. Wind through trees. Even the occasional lost hiker. But that night, none of it felt normal. I was assigned to check a remote trail near the northern ridge. A few campers had reported hearing someone walking around their tents at night. No sightings. Just footsteps. Slow, deliberate, circling. Could have been an animal. Could have been another camper messing around. That's what I told myself. It was already getting dark when I reached the trailhead. No cars. No lights. Just the forest. Stretching out into blackness. I grabbed my flashlight and started up the path. At first, everything felt normal. Leaves crunching under my boots. The occasional snap of a twig somewhere off in the distance. Standard stuff. Then, about 20 minutes in, I heard it. Another set of footsteps. Behind me. I stopped. The sound stopped too. I turned around and swept my flashlight across the trail. Nothing. Just trees. thick and unmoving. I stood there for a minute, listening. Silence. I kept walking. And then it came back. Step, step, step. Same pace as mine. I stopped again and so did it. That's when my chest started tightening. I called out, "Park ranger. If someone's out here, identify yourself." No answer. Just wind. I moved faster now. Not running. Just enough to test something. The footsteps followed. Exactly the same rhythm. That's when I realized, it wasn't behind me anymore. It was beside me. Perfectly in sync. Like someone was walking just off the trail, hidden behind the trees, keeping pace. I swung my light hard to the right. Nothing. But I heard it clearly. Leaves shifting. Weight moving. Close. Too close. I stepped off the trail suddenly. Cutting into the trees. The footsteps didn't hesitate. They adjusted instantly. Still matching me. That's when I felt it, that sick crawling sensation, like being watched from inches away. I backed up onto the trail and pulled my radio. "Dispatch, I've got possible." Silence. No static. No response. Just dead air. I tapped it. Nothing. That's when I heard breathing. Not mine. Low. Controlled. Right behind me. I spun around fast. Nothing there. But the breathing didn't stop. It just moved. Circling. I could hear it shifting from one side to the other, always just out of sight. I started walking again, slower this time. The footsteps stayed with me. Then they changed. They got closer. No longer beside me, but slightly behind. Closing in. I turned quickly again and this time, I saw movement. Just for a second. A shape slipping behind a tree. Human height. Too smooth to be an animal. I shouted, "Stop! Show yourself now." No response. But the footsteps stopped completely. Dead silence. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to focus my light on every tree around me. That's when I noticed something wrong. There were fresh footprints on the trail. Right behind mine. Same size. Same depth. Placed exactly where my feet had been. Not following. Mirroring. I crouched down, staring at them. That's when I heard it again. Right in my ear. Breathing. Hot, steady. Close enough to feel. I froze. Didn't turn around. Didn't move. Because I understood something in that moment. Whatever was out there, it wasn't chasing me. It was studying me. Learning me. Matching me. Slowly. I started walking again. And the footsteps didn't follow this time. They matched. Perfectly. Step for step. I couldn't hear a second set anymore. Just mine. But I knew. I wasn't alone. I made it back to the trailhead eventually. I don't remember most of it. Just walking. Not stopping. Not looking back. When I reached my truck, I locked the doors immediately and just sat there, shaking. After a few minutes, I forced myself to look down at my boots. Covered in dirt. Normal. Then I looked at the passenger side floor. There were footprints. Fresh ones. Same size as mine. Perfectly placed, one after the other. As if someone had walked beside me. And then stepped into my truck. Without ever opening the door. I heard my own voice call my name from the trees. But I was completely alone. And I hadn't spoken in over an hour. I've worked as a park ranger in the mountains for 6 years. You get used to silence out there. Real silence. No cars, no people. Just wind, leaves, and the occasional animal moving through the brush. That night, I was doing a late patrol near an old, rarely used trail. It had been closed off after a few hikers went missing over the years. Nothing dramatic, just people who wandered off and never came back. Happens more than you'd think in dense mountain terrain. Still, something about that trail always felt wrong. It was just after midnight when I parked my truck near the barricade. The air was cold, sharp. I remember my breath hanging in front of me as I stepped out. No moon. Just darkness pressing in from every direction. I grabbed my flashlight and started walking. At first, everything was normal. Gravel crunching under my boots. Trees swaying slightly. The usual. Then I heard footsteps. Not mine. They were faint, off to my right. Slow. Careful. Like someone trying not to be heard. I stopped walking. The footsteps stopped too. I stood there, holding my breath, listening. Nothing. Just the wind again. I told myself it was an animal. Probably a deer. Maybe a fox. Still, animals don't stop exactly when you do. I kept going, a little faster this time. The trail narrowed as I moved deeper in. Branches scraped against my jacket. My flashlight beam felt weak against the darkness. That's when I heard it. Hey. My voice. Same tone. Same pitch. Quiet. Just behind me. I froze. My skin went cold instantly. Every instinct told me not to turn around, but I did. Nothing there. Just the trail. Empty. I laughed under my breath, trying to shake it off. You're tired, I muttered to myself. That's all. But I knew what I heard. I started heading back toward the truck. No reason to stay out there longer than necessary. That's when the footsteps came back. Closer this time. Not off to the side anymore, directly behind me. Step, step, step. Matching my pace. I spun around again, shining my light hard into the trees. Nothing. But I could feel it. That feeling, like eyes on your back. Like something just stepped out of sight the second you looked. I picked up my pace. So did it. I started walking faster. My breathing got heavier. The trail suddenly felt longer than before. Step, step, step. Right behind me. Then. Stop running. My voice again. Right in my ear. I ran. I didn't think. I didn't look back. I just ran straight down the trail, branches hitting my face, boots slipping on loose dirt. My flashlight beam bounced wildly, barely showing me where I was going. But the footsteps stayed with me. Always just a step behind. Not gaining, not falling back. Just there. After what felt like forever, I saw the faint outline of my truck ahead. Relief hit me so hard my legs almost gave out. I reached the door, yanked it open, and jumped inside. Locked it instantly. The footsteps stopped. I sat there, shaking, trying to catch my breath. My heart was pounding so loud it hurt. Then, slowly, I looked up. There was someone standing in front of my truck. Close. Too close. My headlights were off, but I could still see the shape. A man, maybe. Same height as me. Same build. Not moving. Just standing there. Watching. I fumbled for the keys and turned the engine on. The headlights flicked to life. And I saw his face. It was mine. Exactly mine. Same uniform. Same dirt on the jacket. Same cut on the cheek from earlier that day. But his expression was wrong. He was smiling. Wide. Too wide. And his lips started moving. I couldn't hear anything through the glass, but I knew what he was saying. Let me in. I slammed the truck into reverse and hit the gas. Gravel sprayed everywhere as I backed up fast, then turned and sped down the road without looking back. I didn't stop driving until I reached the main station miles away. I told my supervisor everything. He didn't laugh. He just stared at me for a long moment, then quietly asked, "Did it try to get into the truck?" I nodded. He swallowed hard and said, "You're lucky you didn't open the door." I asked him what he meant. He didn't answer right away. Then he said something I'll never forget. 3 years ago, we found a ranger's truck out there. Engine still running. Door wide open. Footprints all around it. 2 sets. He paused. But only one set led away. I never went back to that trail again. But sometimes, late at night when I'm alone, I hear footsteps outside my window, matching my breathing, waiting, and every once in a while, I hear my own voice whisper from the dark, "Let me in."